This week on World Traveler Cooking, I'm set up in the new place in Jakarta, Indonesia, and so I want to talk with you about another interesting Lithuanian dish we're going to make today. It's called Kibinai, and we're going to make a very, very Lithuanian version of it, but the history of this dish is actually really fascinating, so it's worth going through this a little bit. Now, Kibinai is a meat pastry traditionally made out of goat or lamb meat, and it comes from Crimean Turks who resettled in Lithuania as the bodyguards for the Grand Duke of Lithuania back some time ago. And so these are associated with one of the major cities in the area, fortified cities in the area, Tikrai, and the dish, of course, as I say, goes back to the Ottoman Empire, and in particular, Ottoman Crimea. So, of course, today, people make it mostly out of pork because, well, that's the main meat you make just about everything out of in Lithuania. But, of course, traditionally, these were Muslims that didn't eat pork, so they were using other meats, primarily lamb, goat, that sort of thing. So, for ingredients, I'll start with the dough. The dough here, we have half a kilogram of flour. We have 2 eggs. We have half a kilogram of sour cream or creme fraiche. And we have 250 grams, that's a quarter of a kilogram, of butter. We'll also add some salt, and that'll be our dough. For the filling, we will have salt and pepper. We will also have half a kilogram of pork. As I say, components are pretty easy to remember. At this point, it's, you know, equal parts of sour cream, flour, pork by weight, half as much butter, and then some eggs, some onion, a medium-sized onion. As I say, salt and pepper, and then we will reserve 1 egg for an egg wash. So, let's go ahead and get started. We'll start by making the dough, and then from there we will make the filling. So for the dough, we will start by adding our flour and cutting the butter into pieces. We want the butter to be pretty cold here, so definitely don't soften it. These sorts of things are a little challenging to do in hot weather countries like Indonesia, but we'll manage. And then we're going to mix this up once I have the butter cut into pieces here. And we'll mix it with our fingers to get kind of a sand-like consistency. So once this is there, we will toss this with our hands a little bit and then squeeze everything together. You'll notice that this initial step is very similar to the making of the pie crust in the tarte normande video that I released a couple months back. But yeah, we're just going to take our hands and knead the butter in. And then I'll set this in the refrigerator very briefly, just so it doesn't soften, while I mix the eggs and the sour cream. Yeah, here we go. Here, we're getting a nice sand consistency here, which is what we want. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator, or you can throw it in the freezer, it doesn't really matter. But we're just doing that to keep it from, because it's hot here. So I'll be back in a moment. So on this next phase, I'm going to open up my sour cream. And I'm just going to dump the whole thing in. says this is half a kilogram, so that's what we're going to assume it is. I should probably weigh it, but here we go. And into this I will beat 2 of my 3 eggs. Got a piece of shell in there, let's get that out. So then we'll just mix this together with a fork, beat it all together, and we should get a nice, we're going to just beat this until it's pretty smooth. And so now we're just going to mix all of this together. Pour this in. And once this is perfectly mixed, then we will set it aside in the refrigerator for half an hour to let it rest. So now it's been just about half an hour, so I'm going to get the the filling ready. I'm going to start by finely dicing this onion here. This is only going to take a second. Anyway, I'll be back when this is done, and we will mix all of the filling pieces together. For the filling, I'm just going to take my minced pork here, add it to my bowl. I'm going to add salt. And then I'm going to scoop in my onions. At this point you can season it kind of how you like. I'm just going to add a generous amount of freshly ground black pepper. And once I'm done adding that black pepper, I'll be back to mix. So I lost the clip of the amount of black pepper I had. So key thing is put as much or as little as you like. And just stir everything together at that point. So we have salt, we have pepper, we have onions, we have pork. Now some people like to start with pieces of meat and chop it really fine. If you want to see a tutorial of how to do that, check out my Hackebiter video. Otherwise, you can just use the mince like this. If you use mince like this, the texture will be a little different, but you know, some people like things one way or the other. So feel free to play around and do whatever you like. So, here's the filling. Next we'll come back to the dough. So normally you would then basically pipeline everything here, but for demonstration purposes I'm only going to make one at this point. So the key thing is we really need to flour our working space because this is still relatively sticky as far as dough goes. And the second thing is we're going to come up with about a nice handful size ball of dough, and we can squish it out a little bit. Next I'm going to roll it out and we'll fill it. Once we have a nice thin piece here, then we will fill it. So next we're going to take a similar amount, maybe even a little more, of our filling, and let's make kind of an oblong piece out of it. Set it in the middle, and then we are going to I'm going to pick this up here. We are going to squish this into place and seal them. So Although the dough is very fatty, I'm still going to oil my dish a little bit. A lot of people use baking paper, but I don't have that here in Indonesia at the moment. So I'm just going to use oil. And then these will get set up here and I'll be back in a moment. So before these go in the oven, we will brush them with an egg wash. This will make the color really nice when they come out. And be generous. It's not like, you know, if you run out of an egg you're going to be stuck. You can always crack another one and beat it. So that's all we're going to do here. Now once this is done, I'm going to put them in the oven at 200 for about 20 minutes and then we'll be back. And here we have the kibinai out of the oven. They're a bit larger than I think they're normally supposed to be. So we're going to let these finish cooling off for a bit. I'm going to get the neck set in, and in about 10 more minutes we'll come back for the taste test. And here we have our kibinai. And now for the taste test. First I'm just going to break this open. And you'll see that, you know, basically it looks like a meat pie, basically, or a Cornish pastry. So this is absolutely delicious. You taste the meat, you taste the onions, you taste the dough, which has this nice sour flavor from the sour cream. It all goes really, really nicely together. The way I describe it is it's kind of like a borek, but different. And the salt and pepper and the seasoning, believe it or not, adds a lot. This is really, really good. I really, really like it. At any rate, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you. And please check out my Patreon page where you can find access to videos that I haven't released yet. As well as possibly some other content as time goes on, and I will eventually do some live streams up there as well. So, also, I certainly definitely appreciate all my patrons, and at any rate, I want to say thank you to everyone out there who is watching. At any rate, recipes in the description, bon appetit, and see you next week.